The world of Harry Potter is full of many magical books. Chapter 13 of Chamber of Secrets tells us there are books that burn your eyes out, books that make you speak in limericks for the rest of your life, and books that you can never stop reading. We know that the Hogwarts Library is full of books, but I'm curious as to what other library secrets we will find in Hogwarts Legacy. Accio Attorney, a trustworthy muggle in the wizarding world. The Bodleian Library in Oxford was the inspiration for the movie version of the Hogwarts Library. That library opened in 1488, and the oldest book in its collection is also the oldest book in the world. The earliest major book printed using mass-produced movable metal type in Europe, the 1455 Gutenberg Bible. Because of the rich history of the Bodleian Library, I can only imagine that a magical library from the 10th century is full of many more secrets and surprises. We know that the library must be huge because in Chapter 12 of Sorcerer's Stone, we learn that there were tens of thousands of books, thousands of shelves, and hundreds of narrow rows that Harry, Ron, and Hermione went through trying to find a Nicholas Flamel. Nicholas Flamel had to have been an extremely famous wizard, so for them to not be able to find information on him leads me to believe that the Hogwarts Library is not only old, but massive. Old, massive libraries house old maps, rare books, calendars of important dates, and ancient dictionaries. We know there must be ancient runes dictionaries because there's a class on ancient runes. Is there also, dare I say, a Parseltongue dictionary? Can someone learn that language? After all, Ron is able to use Parseltongue to open the Chamber of Secrets in Chapter 31 of the Deathly Hallows, so I bet you could learn to speak it, and I bet there's a book about it in the restricted section. Are there long-forgotten maps of the castle that the Marauders used as a base for their map? In a previous video, I mentioned that the size of Hogwarts is likely much larger than we see in the movies. A viewer also pointed out that population growth should be taken into account as well. This means that the castle could have expanded as the school population has grown. We see extension charms used on the trunk of the Weasleys' Ford Anglia and Hermione's handbag. Are there old blueprints of the original castle? Maybe even secret passageways that are not on the Marauders map? A brand new passageway was created in Chapter 29 of the Deathly Hallows, so I'm sure that the Marauders only scratched the surface. Even Dumbledore said in Chapter 23 of the Goblet of Fire that he would never dream of assuming he knew all of Hogwarts' secrets, and I have to believe that a headmaster with an inquisitive mind who is at the school much longer than the four troublemakers would know way more about the school than they would. You know what? I bet there's a secret passageway inside the library to a room with even more books. For a school that has been around for over 1,000 years, the amount of material it has accumulated has got to be kept somewhere. I bet there are also hidden rooms in the library for studying. We learn in Chapter 26 of the Goblet of Fire that the library closes at 8 p.m. But for those of you who have had any schooling, you know that sometimes you need to pull an all-nighter. Studying in the common room is probably pretty hard even at the quietest of times, not to mention when there's a party going on. But for a castle that has the Room of Requirement, which seeks to help students, I bet there are hidden rooms that the library makes available to students who need to pull an all-nighter and need to hide from the librarian who's about to kick them out. And don't say that the castle wouldn't help a student break some rules. The castle has peeves and a trick step after all. One of the first things I'm going to do when I get the game is search the library to see if the developers have put in the old revolving bookcase with a hidden room behind it. Speaking of hidden secrets and maps, I wonder if there are maps of the grounds, the Forbidden Forest, or even the surrounding area. If so, do you think we'll be able to look through them in the library? Or are there any books you think we'll be able to look through? I've played some games where you're able to flip through 5 or so pages of a select number of books, and I do think we will be able to have some version of this capability. After all, the Hogwarts Legacy Instagram account recently teased the unauthorized guide to Hogwarts, and in the trailer we see a character looking at a book. However, I think it would be too ambitious to think we'll be able to check out any book we want for some light reading. Though perhaps we will get a book which tells us which potion ingredients to use for different recipes. After all, those who pre-order the PlayStation version will get the Felix Felicis recipe, which tells me that each potion will have a recipe. Can we scour the library for other recipes, or even locations on the grounds where we can find the ingredients? The Marauders found out Lupin was a werewolf in their second year and became animagi in their fifth year, but this took an extreme amount of care and precision. I won't go through the whole process here, but click the link in the description if you want to learn more on how to become an animagus. But how would the Marauders know where to get a silver teaspoon of dew from a place that neither sunlight nor human feet have ever touched, if not from a book? Other things you can check out or find in a library include newspapers and publications, photographs, tools, telescopes, instruments, and even old sheet music. It seems that the only thing Harry ever learns from History of Magic is that there are always goblin rebellions occurring. There must be a rich history of goblin rebellions in the library, so will we be able to find newspaper articles on Ranrock? Perhaps old Daily Prophet issues? When Hermione was researching the Half-Blood Prince in Chapter 25 of that book, she states that there is a whole collection of old Daily Prophets in the library. That's how she found a picture of Eileen Prince, captain of the Hogwarts Gobstones team. Hermione also stated that there are records of old potion awards. As a quick aside, do you think that once Neville became herbology professor, he ever went back and defaced old prophet articles claiming that Voldemort didn't return, or that Harry was a liar? Or maybe he just added a note explaining that Harry was right all along. Good guy Neville, standing up for his friend Harry. But anyway, back to the old history and History of Magic, and by extension, Professor Binns. Maybe there are old forgotten books that only the ghosts remember. The ghosts, after all, have been around the school the longest, so perhaps they know clues on where to find the secret rooms in the library, or where you can find older books. If there are staircases that lead different directions to the castle on Friday, then perhaps there are certain bookshelves that only appear on the first Tuesday of the month, when it's raining outside. You never know. I'm also interested in the ancient history we might be able to find. We know ancient magic is central to this game, so there has got to be a book on ancient magic in the restricted section, right? Will there also be ancient history books that help us decipher Merlin's puzzles, which will be found throughout the grounds as well? Or will there be ancient Muggle history? Perhaps ancient mythology? Maybe we'll learn that all this time Zeus was actually just a Greek wizard who could cast lightning spells. After all, our defense against the dark arts professor is named Professor Hecate. That sounds strangely similar to the ancient Greek goddess Hecate. Hecate was the chief goddess presiding over magic and spells, which makes sense for a professor of magic at a school of witchcraft and wizardry. She's often depicted with 3 bodies and tends to be associated with a crossroads. Does she perhaps have anything to do with our character's decision to choose good or evil? I don't know. On the topic of the restricted section, I think it gets a bad reputation. It isn't all full of dark arts. True, Hermione found a book called Magic Most Evil in Chapter 18 of the Half-Blood Prince, but she lamented the fact that the truly dark stuff on Horcruxes had been taken out. Instead, I think the restricted section is mostly filled with advanced material that the school either doesn't think appropriate for younger students or wouldn't want younger students checking out. This could be because there might only be one copy, and the older students are the ones who need it most. In Chapter 9 of the Chamber of Secrets, Hermione states that there's a 2-week waiting list to check out a copy of Hogwarts: A History, because everyone is interested in finding out about the chamber. We also know that very specialized subjects such as alchemy are sometimes offered in the final 2 years if there's sufficient demand. You wouldn't want an 11-year-old checking out alchemy books that he or she couldn't actually use for another 5 years. Mostly, I think the restricted section is just filled with really old and rare books or scrolls. Remember, the first printed book was from 1455, but the school has been around since the 10th century. I'm sure the original library was filled with ancient scrolls until sometime in the 16th century. These rare and fragile scrolls are probably in the restricted section, because you wouldn't want a clumsy 11-year-old like Neville handling the Dead Sea Scrolls now, would you? Perhaps the restricted section also houses advanced topics like the law. If there is a law section in the library, it must be in the restricted section. In chapters 11 and 15 of The Prisoner of Azkaban, Harry, Ron, and Hermione were looking up defenses for hippogriffs, but all their research was hippogriff-related and not law-related. And yes, I know that the Prisoner of Azkaban video game had a legal section that was infested with imps, but that's the video game, and I'm basing my research on the books. If law books weren't in the restricted section, then surely a 13-year-old Hermione would have been able to find it. Though there is no need for a wizarding medical school because any wizard can wave a wand and whip up a potion, my guess is there has to be a wizarding law school, because in Chapter 7 of the Deathly Hallows, the Minister of Magic asks Hermione if she was planning to follow a career in magical law. And then Hermione proceeded to hurt my feelings by saying that no, she was hoping to do some good in the world. But those with an eye on further education in the law might be able to check out books on the law from the restricted section. Unfortunately, one of the things that will not be in the library are New York Times bestsellers Gadding with Ghouls, Travels with Trolls, or Voyages with Vampires. Daily Prophet best-selling author and 5-time winner of Witch Weekly's Most Charming Smile Award, Gilderoy Lockhart, unfortunately will not be gracing us with his presence or his books for another 100 years. When you break it down, each Harry Potter book is a mystery. Who wants the Sorcerer's Stone and why? Who opened the Chamber of Secrets? Why does Black want Harry? Who put Harry's name in the Goblet of Fire? What's the prophecy? Who is the Half-Blood Prince? Who will win between Voldemort and Harry? So many mysteries. So what mysteries will we solve in Hogwarts Legacy, and how will the library help us? Let me know what secrets you think we'll find in the library. Until next time. Don't doodle in your copy of Theories of Transubstantial Transfiguration, or it might beat you fiercely around the head. Thank you to all who made it this far. Please like and subscribe for more content, and be sure to check out my 2 most recent videos here and here.